Where were you?
Oh, I was over there behind the trees masturbating. This, this, oh god, this movie is. Oh man, okay. What's going on, guys? My name is Barry,
This is Colby.
and this is Who Watches This. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the third week of Man's Best Friend Month.
Yeah.
I feel
Movies with dogs, where the dogs play a part, but that the movie's not about the dog.
yeah, this movie is this month is almost like an asterisk. I was like, oh, maybe he's gonna pick like Air Bud plays soccer. Oh man, but no, this is actually like a super fun month. I mean, yeah, it doesn't like adhere to the traditional standards, but there's always a dog.
Oh, yes, always a dog.
Oh man, so before we give away what the movie is for this week, Kobe, without giving anything away, can you explain how you came about this movie?
I was just kind of perusing the internet for dog movies that I hadn't seen that weren't like intentionally like, hey, this is Old Yeller, this is all about a dog, and then it dies at the end and everybody cries. I was trying to avoid that kind of movie.
And so you're
and
like,
then this was on the list, and I was like, hey, I remember when this came out, I thought this was a very interesting sounding movie.
yeah.
So it just was like, what better excuse to watch it? It's got a dog in it.
Yeah, the funny thing about this is, like, I remember watching like one of like the film buffs on YouTube talk about it, and I had put it on a list, and I think I remember watching bits of it, but I think I was like doing something in the background, and so then it just became a movie on the background, and then like once you look away, you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yes, this is a have to sit down and watch movie
and pay attention. All right, let's get to our first section. We have the Rhyme Fest trailer, and this one was like a little hard and but like kind of fun. So, all right, it's against the law to be single. The government ain't giving you any type of leeway, so you practice all of the he say she say, chew the fat like it was some Chick-fil-A. Or else they'll turn you into a beast, and no one really ain't saying a peep. So just watch out, they'll convert you without a stir. We'll find out in 2016's The Lobster. Oh man, yeah, I tapped into my OG Kanye West, Oh yeah, we're gonna be talking about the 2016 movie The Lobster, starring Colin Farrell, Rachel Weisz, John C. Reilly, are like the big ones. The one of the women in there is like a pretty noticeable actor too. Oh gosh, she's more like, she's always been in like very comedic roles, which I mean this movie it's comedy, but it's like a dark comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, Olivia Colman, who gosh, yeah, she's like in a lot of British stuff. Most notably like
she's an Academy Award winner.
Yeah, she's like a really good actress. Yeah, I remember her in Fleabag, Wonka with Timothy Chalamet. Oh gosh, Peep Show, super throwback British TV show. She had like a little stint in The Bear where she just did a little cameo. She was in Hot Fuzz. So yeah, like really, like kind of like she's in a lot of those like American British like crossover things.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but now I think she's been getting more popular out here in the West as well. And then obviously the big one is going to be Colin Farrell, who we all know as Bullseye.
So it's kind of interesting because I just recently finished Penguin,
Yeah,
which was fantastic, and so I've kind of been on a Colin Farrell kick. I didn't. He's one of those actors where I always think I don't like him, but
yeah,
then like every movie I watch with him, I'm like, he's great, and I love this movie.
yeah. But
But
there's
then
something
like,
about his face.
yeah, after the movie kind of like wanes from me, then it's like, no, I don't like him anymore. And I don't know what it is. So I kind of been on a kick watching his movies that I've purposely passed up because I didn't think I like him.
Yeah.
And wow, this is a very different take than I've seen him do in anything else.
Like the funny thing about Colin Farrell is like you kind of almost want to pigeonhole him somewhere, but then he does movies like Horrible Bosses. He does The Gentleman, or like The Gentleman. I forgot what it was called. That yeah, The Gentleman. He does like obviously Phone Booth and Alexander. He does Total Recall. And then he goes into like fantasy with like Fantastic Beast, and then he does freaking Batman stuff. So it's like you wanna like think he's like a one-dimensional actor, but he's actually like really fucking good.
Yeah, yeah.
And so for you, maybe it's just like a face thing.
Maybe like I see him and I'm like, oh, he just plays like the arrogant, cocky guy.
Yeah. And then you see him in this.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that is so not what.
And so, guys, so I think this will be like, God, I really feel like this is going to be a pretty quick run through as far as the plot goes, and I think it'll be a lot more interesting just talking about the movie, how it goes, like how it is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, let's just go ahead and jump into it. We kind of get thrusted into this movie pretty abruptly by a woman driving her car. But then, and then she opens the door, closes it. But then we hear in a voiceover, she's like, "Oh, I'm in love with somebody else."
Yeah.
And so, Colin Farrell's character, I'm just gonna call him by their actual actor name because, like, a lot of them, they're just called like loner girl, short-sighted girl, nosebleed girl. We don't really get too many names.
Yeah, yeah. The manager.
Yeah, so I think it'll be just a lot more easier for me to go. Maybe I'll switch back and forth, but like. There's Colin. We get introduced to Colin Farrell. He's being what looks like detained by somebody, but then it's like a lot of voiceover. There's a narrator in this movie, so that kind of makes things a little bit more difficult to talk about who's talking. So like we're just gonna kind of generalize this whole plot, but he gets taken into a facility, and it's pretty posh, as they would say in the UK.
Oh, right. It's almost like a resort, but a very sterile resort.
Yeah. And it's a strange encounter, but then like the hotel manager starts talking to Colin Farrell, and she's kind of explaining the resort. She's like, "Oh, we have all these amenities for you, except for these, because these are only for the couples."
Right, right.
And she's like, "Oh, are you bringing your dog?" And he's like, Colin Farrell's like, "Oh yes, this was my brother." Yeah, I can't leave him with my ex-wife because she won't take care of him.
Yeah.
And so, like, you're like, what does he mean by that? Like, did he just grow up with this dog? And he's like, yeah, that's my family, But we get that totally, like, erased from our, like, head because she's like, okay, so, well, you have 45 days to find a mate because it's illegal for you to not have a mate.
Right.
And
yeah, because it's like a dystopian future where it's against the law to not or to be single.
And strangely enough, we might be getting there. Birth rates have been getting pretty low all over the world, not just specific countries anymore. But she's like, oh, and then, if you don't find anybody within the 45 days, is there an animal that you would like to be turned into? And you're like, oh, this is going to be a weird movie.
Yeah.
And so Colin Farrell's like, well, I've given it some thought. And I would like to be turned into a lobster. And she's like, a lobster. He's like, well, they live for 100 years. So, insinuating that like within the 100 years he'll have a pretty decent shot at finding a partner as a lobster.
Right. And she does this weird explanation of like, now remember when you're picking, make sure you're picking an animal that you're attracted to, because you can't have like a dog falling in love with an ostrich, because that's just not right.
So, it's weird, but we're not getting that weird, We're not ready to have animals like in the Avatar, The Last Airbender world, He's like, well, that's fine. I'll be a lobster.
Yep.
I think I'm nailing this like Irish accent.
It's not too bad. It
has to be calm though, I can't be like loud about it. So like so she starts showing them the facilities, and it's filled with like a lot of just depressing looking people.
Right. It's Colin Farrell put on 50 pounds for this movie and has a horrific mustache. But like he's still the most attractive person. One of the most attractive people there. It's a bunch of kind of oddball people. It's like the interaction between all the people is like you still in a comic store. It felt like the boys trying to talk to the girls while they're playing games, like just their interaction super awkward.
It's very middle school dance.
Yes.
That's the most perfect way I could put that, right? And in this world, a lot of the conversations that people are having with the opposite sex, it's very cut and dry. Now, Colin Farrell, as far as like for the males, like you could look at Colin Farrell and just be like, oh, if he just like lost like 50 pounds, that guy is fucking dashing.
Right.
Well, especially when you, no like shade to John C. Reilly, but when you put when you put them together, you're like, the work up on Colin Farrell is going to be a higher yield versus, John C. Reilly got buff. He's still John C. Reilly. But as far as like for the females go, like there's actually a decent amount of like, none of them look bad.
Right. Yeah.
Except for the one that, the one that was kind of like, we'll get to that one later. But it's so like, so John C. Reilly kind of, they in the morning they lay out the rules very like, oh my gosh, where it's like no masturbation. What was like the other rules? I forgot.
Well, it
that was the big one.
Yeah. It starts off like the first day is like, okay, well, the first 48 hours you're here, your left hand is like strapped to your belt because, two hands work better than one. We want to prove like how much better couples work than single people. So you have to like basically live the first 48 hours only using one hand.
Yeah, which is like a pain because it's like hard to take a dump.
Right. Yeah, he can't take his belt off, and he's like trying to get ready for bed at night, and he's like,
yeah, I was like, that's like the most awkward place you could put it, right? But I guess it's like to really show the struggle of having one hand, which I was like, if you talk to people that only have one hand, they're going to be like, you get used to it. But yeah, they lay out a whole bunch of rules. It's mainly like, it's like no masturbation, and it's just pretty plain. They're trying to keep everything sterile until you find a possible partner.
Right.
And so like Colin Farrell's character, he kind of finds some solace into like with the other like two other men, which one is played by John C. Reilly, who has a lisp, and then the other guy has a limp.
Right.
So that's what I'm just gonna call them throughout for the rest of this episode is Limp and Lisp. And they kind of like, they kind of bond, trauma bonding together. They talk about like why they're single and how this has all happened. And like every like the morning or whatever, every kind of couple of days, they have sort of like updates of like the men and women there. And Limp kind of goes on this whole tirade of like, Well, my dad found somebody who was better at math than my mom was, and I was 19, so my mom got turned into a werewolf, or not werewolf, wolf.
Right.
And I found out that she was at the zoo, so like every day I would come, and I didn't know which one was my mom, so I would give all the wolves a little bit of like beef or like meat.
Right. Right.
Until one day, I was like, "Well, I want a hug. I need somebody to hug me." And so I go in there, and then they start attacking me. But there was two wolves that didn't, and I could only presume that one of them was my mother, and then the other one is a partner that she had found.
Right. Right.
And then everybody claps.
Right. But his leg was injured by the wolves, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
why
by the
he
wolves.
has the limp.
Yeah, and so
And
yeah,
there's this weird like push for find somebody like find something that makes you unique,
yeah,
and then try to find somebody who has exactly that same thing, because then you'll have something in common.
yeah. Like you'll have higher chances of staying together because you have things in common, which is like I think we could all agree that sometimes that's really not the best thing. It's nice to have things in common, but it's also nice to have things that you
But
don't have.
it's like it's taken to such an extreme,
Yeah,
because this guy he got attacked by wolves,
yeah,
and he's grown up, and now he limps, and then they're like, "Hey, did you see a girl showed up with a limp?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did. I talked to her. She just has a sprained ankle, so her limp will go away, so she won't be interested in me anymore."
yeah. So it's like it's crazy. It's like this world that's like like where people are like together because they have a common factor. It almost feels like extremely shallow. Like that's like this is the basis of our relationship. I have a limp, you have a limp, we can limp throughout life together.
Right.
And so like yeah, like even like later on they have like this little dance night. And so like, Colin Farrell's like the first one to kind of be like, "Oh, would you like to have a dance with me?" And he ends up dancing with a woman who constantly has nosebleeds.
Right. Yeah, he kind of picks her because she's the most attractive,
Oh
but
yeah.
then she has nosebleeds and he doesn't. So it's kind of like, well, this isn't going to work because your nose doesn't ever bleed.
Yeah, but like strangely enough though, it feels like well, she is more receptive to maybe not having something in common because she's like, "Oh, but it's really fine because like, I know all the ways to get blood out of like clothing."
Right.
But Colin Farrell seems much more like rigid.
Yeah.
And so like even though like yeah, she is like I think her and her best friend are fairly young in this, and so we don't really get any explanation on like when you have to start looking for a life partner. But like they did go to high school and everything together, so she's probably like maybe 21 is like I would want to say the age is.
Yes, you're right. They didn't say, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those.
Yeah, because like Limp talks about how like he got like attacked by wolves at 19.
Yeah.
And so like, if he had like the freedom to kind of go about like that, then maybe 21 is like the age limit or the age uh of like starting to look for a life partner. And so like later on like we do have like a very strange like event or activity that they partake in, and it's where the people that are at the resort, the facility, they have to go hunt for loners. And
Right.
these are people who have escaped the facility and now just live in the woods.
Right. Or run away from the city, because there's a city nearby
Yeah. Where
we see later, but
and so like and the more people that you can kind of capture, the more days you can extend your limit.
right.
So we do get introduced to, I believe she's Russian because she speaks a little bit later. But they're like, "Oh yeah, she's a cold-hearted bitch." And she has a resting bitch face and all that stuff. And so, but she's like bagging dudes left and right, or she's bagging loners left and right. Her stay is like 160 something days, and it kind of looks like she just wants to be there for the zip line. Have you seen that meme? It's like a dating show skit where like Tim Robbins or something.
Right.
It really feels like she's only there for that.
Yeah, for the hunt.
Yeah, for the hunt. And so like later on, like John C. Riley and Colin Farrell, they're kind of having a conversation, and it kind of Limp hates this conversation because he's like, "You guys are fucking losers," you know. Because they're talking about, well, you know, if it doesn't happen, I get turned into an animal. You know, maybe we should all be parrots. You know, that we could be parrots together. You know, and Limp is like, no, fuck that. You guys are fucking suck. You guys suck. We're gonna go visit you. Me and my wife are gonna visit you at the zoo, holding hand in hand. So yeah, but Limp ends up devising a plan for Nosebleed Girl.
Right.
Because we see her swimming, and she has like a really nice body, and like her swimwear is it's much more revealing than regular swimwear. You know, it's showing a little bit of underboob, and so like he's like trying to talk to her, and it is the most painfully awkward conversation on his end.
Yeah.
But like when she goes to go do a lap, he smacks his face on the edge of the pool. And so when she comes back, she's like, "Oh, you're bleeding." He's, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, sometimes it happens." And she's like, "Oh, we have something in common."
Right.
And so they end up pairing together. But before like they have that ceremony of being paired together, he comes to Colin Farrell's room, and Colin Farrell's like, "Do you think you could do this forever?" Right. And he's like, well, "Bro, what's a couple of freaking nosebleeds?" And he starts smacking his face on the table,
right, to make his nose bleed.
Yeah, he's like, "What's a couple of nosebleeds? You know, I don't want to be turned into some animal."
Yeah,
you know, so you can kind of see the fair point. I was like, you know, what's a nosebleed once a week? Or at a certain point, you're gonna get a deviated septum, like hitting your nose that much. But yeah, they get paired up, and Colin Farrell now is kind of like itching, but at this point he's getting courted by like another woman. I feel like her age, but she's like, "Hey, you know, like, oh, where's your dog? You know, can I see your dog?" And he's like, "Oh, my dog can't come out." And then she's like, "Oh, well, here's some biscuits." They call her the biscuits lady, and she's like, "Oh, hey, just to let you know, yeah, I love doing blowjobs, and I swallow after blowjobs." And, you know, I could do anal if you want. You know, my ex-husband liked to do that, but let's not talk about him. And so, like, yeah, I'm in room 180. That's my extension, so you can call me, and yeah, and then I can give you a blowjob and stuff. Oh, sorry, we do have to talk about this. I forgot to say this, but you're not allowed to masturbate, but a maid will come in and rub her butt on your junk until you nut.
No, not till you nut.
Oh, is it not till you?
Just till you get aroused enough, so that like way you're like always super horny.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you'll pair off faster if you're just.
Oh yeah, sorry. Which I was like, this is strangely erotic. It's like a combination of things, right? The stockings, the maid outfit, the deadpan, right. like the seriousness of of what she's doing. It's like, oh Jesus, what's going on? But yeah, and so Colin Farrell's like, okay, I need to pair up with somebody, and the other person he finds himself attracted to is the sociopath or the psychopath. Right. I don't know what she is.
Butterbiscuits also, when she's saying that, she's like, because he's like very not interested in her.
Yeah.
So she's just basically like, my time's running out. I'm probably just gonna jump out the window. I'm on the first floor, so I don't know if that's a good. But maybe I'll go up to room 340 because no one's in that room, and I could jump out of that window.
She couldn't, you know, I was sad to say this, but she couldn't even do that right. You know what I mean? You really gotta like bottleneck it, you know, face first if you're really just trying to, you know, cut it short.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So like, and so Colin Farrell's like, okay, I got to just act like a sociopath to get with this like hot Russian chick, and like. Yeah, like when they see like Biscuits girl like kind of like screaming in pain, Colin Farrell goes like, "Oh, well, how annoying! But I'm super glad that she did it. I hope she dies soon."
Yeah, I hope she dies soon because I don't want. She's close to my window, and I don't want to have to hear her crying all night.
Yeah, and so like that kind of intrigues the Russian girl, And so yeah, he starts to court her, like acting like a complete like psychopath.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and then like when like what's it called, Russian girl or psychopath, she like pretends to like choke on an olive. Colin Farrell
right.
just like watches it happen,
Yeah,
and then she's like, and then she stops faking it. She's like, oh, I think we might be compatible, and they get paired off. And it seems
uh,
all. Oh,
and
sorry.
there's a lot of advantages once you get paired off. You get a bigger room, you get like a bigger bathroom, a bigger bedroom.
Yep.
You have access to other places in the resort that you couldn't as a single person.
Yeah. And so they start to have like this courting relationship, but then like Colin Farrell slips up while they're having sex. He grunts.
Yes,
Like he's like, oh yeah. And she's like, what did you say? And he's like, nothing. And she's like, oh, flip me over. I want to see your face. And then
to make
oh
sure you're not enjoying it.
yeah. And she's like, turn on the lights. I need to see your face. And so yeah, she's like, oh, you're a fucking faker. And so like the next morning, like they have a couple more nights, but then like at a certain point, she just starts like watching over his body.
Yeah, yeah,
And then so the morning after, she's like, wake up. And she's like, I've killed your brother.
yeah.
And he like looks down and he like sees her feet and it's like covered in blood. And she's like, he squirmed a bit, but then he stopped. And so Colin Farrell tries to play this off, but he just can't. He breaks down in the bathroom.
Right. And so he's very like, he's just a dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's no life for my brother anyway,
Yeah.
so I don't care. And then she's like, oh, okay. Well, would you like some coffee?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, sure, get me some coffee. I'm going to go into the bathroom and brush my teeth. And he walks into the bathroom
And breaks.
and his brother is massacred.
Yeah. Which, like, you never really want to see in a movie, like, animal deaths, but yeah. So he breaks down and she breaks in and she's like, you're a fucking liar.
Yep.
Almost very Anakin Obi-Wan on Rustafar. And she's like, we're going to go to the hotel manager and they're going to turn you into the thing that no one wants to be.
Yeah.
And so now he escapes from her and gets help from the maid and darts
Right.
her.
And at up to this point, the maid has been very strict on the rules.
And so you're like, why is she helping? But like,
Yeah.
he darts her and transforms her into what we believe no one wants to be, which I was like, it has to be a lobster. That's what the movie's called. And Colin Farrell runs away. He runs into the forest.
Right.
And he gets found by the loner club, or like the
Yes.
loner nomadic group, right? And so he gets taken into them.
Basically the homeless people.
Yeah. And so he gets adopted by them, but then they have fucking weird rules too. He's like, oh yeah, you could be alone as much as you want here, but no kissing, no flirting, no.
Right. You could talk to other people, but you can't ever flirt with them. Feel free to masturbate anywhere as often as you'd like, but you're not allowed to ever, fornicate with another person.
Which I was like, oh man, so like into the frying pan, into a fire or whatever that thing is. But so he starts to acclimate into this group, but then Rachel Weisz sees him, and then she goes like, and then we find out that she's been the one that's been narrating this whole thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh yeah, I could picture us walking in the city hand in hand, and then him fucking me up the arse. And then all of a sudden, a group of ruffians break into our home. I was like, what is this fantasy that she's having? Jesus Christ. This movie is like, it's so deadpan. And so they start a budding relationship.
Right. It starts off as a friendship, and he knows how to hunt. So he catches her rabbits, and they have like little stories together and stuff. And then he realizes that she wears contacts.
Yeah, she's short-sighted.
and he wears glasses and is also short-sighted. And all of a sudden, like, now he is like in his internal is like, whoa, I've gotten something in common with this person, so much more attractive.
Yeah. And like, you know, and it's funny enough too, because like this loner group, they have like runs in the city. They do like little runs for like supplies and all that stuff. And you know, there's sometimes like there's a couple times where they almost get like busted, but then like they look like a couple, so okay. They go visit the loner leader's like parents
Right.
and all that stuff. And so like yeah, and then they go back and forth, and they do develop this like relationship where they have like little hand signals, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing.
Right. They've kind of created their own sign language so that way they could flirt with each other without anybody else in the group knowing.
Exactly. I would have picked up on that real quick though. And like Colin Farrell, like he almost gets a little jealous because like, you know, she laughs with like another person, and then he goes up to him. He's like, "Are you short sighted? You're lying."
Are you wearing contacts? Let me see your eye.
But their relationship starts to grow a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper. You know, they end up having sex somewhere in the woods and all that stuff. And so the next time they go into the city, loner leader parents are like playing them this like very romantic, I think, Spanish piece. I've heard it before.
Right. Yeah.
And man, they get hot and heavy on the couch in front of like the other two loners. And she gets really upset. Yeah, obviously, she's like, "You guys are taking it way too far."
Yep.
And so now she knows. Like now she's kind of picking up on something. Oh, by the way, sorry. The maid turns out to be a mole for the loner leader.
Yes.
And so she ends up coming back to the group because she's like, "I can't keep doing this. This fucking dentist is like, oh my god, he keeps asking me if I'm flossing." which I feel like is what it is like to be married to a dentist. Hey, did you floss? Yeah. And so like yeah, like Colin Farrell and Rachel Weisz, they start to plan to like leave, and so the next time the hunt is coming, they're gonna try to disappear during that moment. So like maybe they just think they got caught.
Right. Yeah.
But Rachel Weisz puts this all into her journal, and the maid finds it.
Yeah.
And so she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, we gotta nip this shit in the bud." And so, like, she ends up making Colin Farrell like dig his own grave, because that's what this group has to do. They all dig their own graves.
Right, because if you die, nobody here cares enough about you to dig a grave for you. So you have to dig your own grave and then get as close to your grave as you can before you die, because just kicking you into the grave and maybe throwing a little dirt on you is the most that any of us are going to do.
But the loner girl does say something kind of weird where she's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll come visit you as much as possible." So you're like, does she have something for Colin Farrell? I don't know. But she takes Rachel Weisz into the city, and she's like, "Hey, I know this doctor, he'll fix your eyes for you." And Rachel Weisz is kind of feeling sketchy about it, but she goes along with it.
Right.
And she ends up getting sorry. Before this, they did have a raid on the resort where it looks like they're about to kill a bunch of people, but they go there and just tell people like, Colin Farrell goes to the nosebleed guy, their whole family. And funny enough, like one of the rules for the group is, oh, if you guys are like a couple but you guys are fighting too much, we're gonna give you a daughter or a kid.
Yeah, right. Because a kid'll cure fighting.
Yeah. And so when they get there, he's like, he's faking all of his nosebleeds. He's lying to you, and same with like the hotel manager and her husband. They're like, oh yeah, kill her, and we'll let you go. Right. So he ends up just pulling the trigger. And, oh yeah, it's a whole mess. And so like when they get to they end up blinding Rachel Weisz. And
yeah, she thinks she's going to get her eyes fixed with this LASIK surgery, and they basically just blind her. Yeah.
And Rachel is pissed. She's like, "Why did you blind me? You could have blinded him." Which I was like, "Oh, so you barely care also." Because like if you love somebody, you kind of like you always if you really love somebody, you always end up trying to take the bullet for them because you love them so much.
Right.
And
Yeah.
this is just like another like instance of like how shallow everything in this world is. And so like Colin Farrell is like, oh, now she's blind. Now we don't have anything in common. And throughout this whole portion, they're trying to find things in common, but they really don't have anything else in common.
Right. Right.
And at this point, Rachel Weisz is like kind of mad. She's like, "Hey, you haven't been bringing me food, or we haven't been playing Touch, Feel, Discover, and all that stuff."
Right, because he's trying at the very beginning. He's trying where he's like, "Oh, like here's a tennis ball," but he doesn't say it. He hands it to her, and she feels it, and she has to try to guess what it is because he's trying to get her acclimated to being blind.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he just starts like disappearing for like days at a time because it's like I'm not really attracted to a blind person because I'm not blind.
I'm gonna let you know right now. if the blind person looks like Rachel Weisz, yeah, yeah, my life is different now, but it's Rachel Weisz. And so like he tells her a secret code. He's like, I'm gonna tuck my elbow, lay my hand down, and then lay it down, and then turn over. She's like, oh my God, are you ready for that? He's like, yeah, and then we'll escape.
It's so funny because he's describing, instead of just telling her, he's describing the sign language that
like, they're alone. Just say it, And so he ends up doming the loner leader and then burying her face up in the wild. This whole forest is filled with just random animals. You see like freaking pigs, you see like camels and all that stuff like walking in the background, which is hilarious. But yeah, no, he ends up kind of like leaving her to get fed on by like just wild dogs and wolves and stuff like that. They start running into the city, and then when they get to a diner, it's a weird like interaction where he's like, all right, elbows, profile, wrists, and all that stuff. And then she's like, okay, are you ready? And he's like, yeah. And so he asked like the waiter for like a steak knife and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes into the bathroom, and you see that he's gonna go there to blind himself.
Right, so he has something in common with her.
And then we cut to Rachel Weisz waiting in the diner, waiting, and then it just cuts to credits.
Yeah.
So weird. All right, before we get into talking about the rest of this movie, let's get into our other section, high star, low star.
Boom. 10 out of 10. Avoid being single at all costs. Colin Farrell finally stepped out of his bad boy character. What a great movie. What an ugly mirror it shows of today's society. That being single is not acceptable and to avoid it at any cost. Try to mate as desperate as you can, because without a mate, you are a wild animal that does not belong in society, because a single entity of you is worthless and can never be complete. It doesn't matter if you lie or cheat in a relationship. It's just a game. Just make sure you do not stay single. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Just like real life. One of the best lines in the movie was, if you are a couple, if you as a couple argue a lot and are unable to solve conflict, a child will be given to you at your disposal. That usually helps.
Then we have 1 out of 10. Comedy, romance, seriously, I don't think I can trust a rating here anymore. I've created my account for many years, and it's my first time writing a review. I was looking for a romance movie from a list provided by IMDb and found this movie ranking at a relatively high place. The plot was pretty interesting and innovative, so I decided to watch this movie. However, this movie is so violent that it was a psychological or torture. I couldn't really laugh at anything in the comedy, even if it is counted as a comedy. I couldn't even laugh at anything in the movie, even if it's counted as a comedy, not to mention the romance part. I just hope that a sign could be placed on every movie like this to warn people about the content. This is just too violent, and I couldn't stand for that. I might lack of any sense of art to admire or appreciate this movie. It's just too disappointing. Yeah, this movie is, I would really count this as like a dark comedy romance movie,
Yes.
and I think that's really what perfectly describes that. If you're, I would say, if you're not used to like British or like UK type of comedy, this totally might just go over your head
Yes.
because
Yeah.
this isn't like Tropic Thunder, like South Park funny. This
Right.
is
Right. And with Riley in there, you like expect it to be like Step Brothers. You're
yeah.
walk the line. Yeah, but
Yeah, this feels more like it's supposed to be like absurdist funny.
right.
Like the whole plot of this movie of people like being turned into animals because they're not with anybody, it's really absurd,
And
and
yes.
the delivery of everything so cut and dry is I think what I find the humor in. Now, one of the things I was kind of wondering is like, okay, so it's illegal to be single in this world, but why is it not illegal to cheat in this world? Because you're still fulfilling, like, oh, I'm gonna find a new partner. This one just doesn't work for me anymore.
Right. Right. So you've moved on. Now that person has to move on. That's
Yeah,
why they have 45 days.
45 days to fall in love. Oh man, but this movie is like beautifully shot.
It is. They were talking about it. They saw like a little like description, and they were said nobody wore makeup, and except for the scenes at night, there was no additional lighting added in any scene.
Yeah, and that's like that's pretty hard to do when you're doing movies because lighting is everything.
Right? Right?
But yeah, it's like wonderfully shot. Like the filmography or like the DP, the director of photography, did in this movie did like wonders for this because it almost feels like a really long episode of like Twilight Zone and Black Mirror.
Oh, definitely. Like yes, Black Mirror. I could totally see doing a shortened version of this. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have like absurdist like plots. Well, and but like the worst part about this is like it's so absurd, but it's so close to reality. On because we live like now, like like not as much like people like within our age range of like 30s and 40s, but like the younger generation, like because I've had coworkers in that like age range where they're like I once knew this girl that she was like 4'11". She was like, "Oh, my boyfriend has to be 6'2" or 6'1", and I was like, "Why? Like, why does that
Right.
matter so much to you?" She's like, "That's just like my prerequisite, Like, even if he's like a really good guy, like but if he's like 5'10", it's like, oh, it's just not cutting it."
Yep.
And like same for men, you're like, oh yeah, she has to have like the perfect body. It's like, but why? The joy is getting fat together. This is not really like the thing. It's just more like, okay, like maybe I don't have to be so fit all the time. You're allowed to have moments or periods of like, oh, let's just get like let's let loose. Let's
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Let's have a Ben and Jerry's night.
yeah. Let's have fried chicken and pizza. And so like that's like the funny thing about this movie. It's like it feels so absurd, but it's also like it feels almost too close to home.
Right. Right. It's just like an exaggeration of real life.
And the sad part is like this movie is almost like 10 years old, and it's like why are we inching closer and closer to this situation?
Right. Right.
Like,
Yeah.
because like in some countries where the birth rate is like record low, like the government like starts to step in, like, hey, if you have a kid, we'll give you 10 grand.
I get they were talking about it was like 2014 was the first year in like the last 12 years that the marriage rate in China didn't decline, and it's because the Chinese government had spent like $100 million in advertising the benefits of marriage.
Yeah, and like the worst part is like now like in America the last like maybe 10 years, like the cost of living has gotten higher and higher, where people are like, as much as I want kids, I can't afford them.
Right, right.
You know, people talk about like they have like a term for it now, like dink. Have you heard of that? It's
No.
double income, no kids.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like, oh, you know, because like before, like, you know, like not to get super political or anything about that, is like the minimum wage used to be able to like sustain a family of four or something like that. And now minimum wage won't even sustain you in a box. Like, you know, you're living in a 2 bedroom apartment with like 8 roommates.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, to find a possible partner and to maybe get a decent place, you're cool. Now you have a 1 bedroom or a studio apartment. Where are you gonna have kids?
Right, right. Yeah, you get a cat because the cat, yeah,
Yeah, you get like a pet,
it,
and
it,
even that is like expensive. Like when you have to go to like the freaking when you have to go to a vet. Oh yeah, I had to pay a vet $8,000 to tell me that my cat's constipated. It's stuff like that, and like another thing too is like, oh, when these people are like, oh, you guys are couples, but if you guys are having issues, here's a kid. You know, it mirrors a lot of like marriages that end up in divorce with a kid.
right. Well, also you have a lot of people who are thinking that they're like, oh yeah, we're having problems, but we should have a kid or another kid because then we can
That'll
focus on a child that we love since we don't really love each other anymore.
yeah, we can table our issues right now, and then when they're 14, we can bring them back.
Right,
And
because by then we'll have know how to solve them.
yeah, and then we're gonna give our children all this trauma of a household that yells at each other all the time. Yeah, like man, this movie is so satirical, and its delivery is just so dry that a good chunk of like Western audiences aren't gonna really pick up on that.
Right, right. It took me a while to get into it. Like I felt like it was trying to be artsy, and
Yeah,
then it wasn't really until he met uh became a loner
yeah,
that I was like, oh, I'm getting like the humor in this.
yeah.
I like, and then afterwards I was like, now I want to watch it again so I can kind of laugh a little bit more at the beginning part because I didn't understand what they were trying to do.
Oh yeah, I think like the moment they had the first sit down of like what animal do you want? I was like, oh, okay, I'm catching what you're throwing. I see what kind of movie this is gonna be. So, all right, let me strap in for this wild ride that I'm about to be a part of. And this movie is like pretty long. It's like an hour and 50, maybe 54 minutes after credits and all that stuff. But I think it flows really well.
It does, yeah.
But
And
it,
then like it's not super dialogue heavy. There's a lot of atmosphere
yeah,
and watching the people in the background and like you said like this weird like awkward tension between two people in the forest, but then you see like a flamingo walk by, or you start hearing like different type of birds that shouldn't be in that area, like chirping. And
So okay, so question: if you had to pick an animal, what are you picking?
um, I, I feel like a bear, not like a really big bear, like a medium-sized bear.
Oh, like a black
Would
bear?
Yeah,
Oh,
because yeah, like you're not hunted, you're not, but like you're still big enough that like
like people
you're
generally
not
leave you the fuck
prey.
alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll pick a dragon. Yeah, turn me into a fucking dragon. Yeah, that's right. Let's see if you fuck with me then, you know. Yeah, I don't know, like, but like, obviously, if I had to pick an animal, I think I would pick like a fucking. I want to pick a Filipino eagle. You know, we have eagles in the Philippines. and I believe it's larger than the bald eagle. But
Okay.
those eagles are handsome. But it's also like, okay, I get to fly. Like how many people always like when you ask them like, oh, what kind of superpower you want? A lot of people like, oh, I want to fly and stuff. Oh, by the way, here's a Filipino eagle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like they got that fuck boy hair. Yeah, it's all spiky, like 2006 Asian me. You know what I mean? Yeah, but oh yeah, yeah. It's funny that you say it's not dialogue heavy because I felt like it was dialogue heavy, but it's really clever.
Yeah,
It's funny. It's like
and
dry humor, but
it is, and
yeah.
it's deliberate. Like every line that's like put in there is either a joke or it's building towards the story.
Yeah.
Like it's
All right. Question: like, if you were in that facility that they're in, would you try to nosebleed yourself?
I I yeah I don't being an animal would be cool, but like I would probably end up lying so that I could find a mate.
Well, yeah, but what if she's like, I'm lactose, so I just don't do cheese.
Well, I would then not pick that person.
You're like, all right, there's somebody in here that loves cheese too, right?
Right.
Yeah, because if that is really the only criteria, yeah, I'm looking for the most the most physically attractive person in there. I'm like, all right, let me find out what's wrong with her, and then I'm gonna acclimate myself to that.
Right. Yeah. I could.
Oh, she's a vegetarian.
Then,
okay, next.
So that like it made me think because it ends in an extremely vague way.
Yeah.
Like you don't know if he
yeah.
decided to do it or not.
Yeah.
Would you just lie? Would you just be
100%.
like, yeah, I'm blind now, so we can be together?
100%.
And then like, just don't touch my eyes. They're very sore.
Yeah, I am 100. Like, okay, because in my head, I'm like, it'll be so much more easier for the both of, or well, like at least for you, the blind person, if I could see shit.
Right.
Because like they have like a lot of like really absurd theater that they have at the facility, where like, oh, here's a man eating by himself. He starts choking. Oh, because he doesn't have a partner, he died.
Yeah.
Or like, here's a woman walking by herself. Oh no, she gets assaulted by a man, and they like kind of react.
She doesn't have a partner to protect her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but here she is with the older, with a man. Oh, she doesn't get assaulted. See, and like everyone claps and all that stuff. And yeah, I was just like, yeah, I would 100% just like, for me, it's just like, okay, here, there has to be something that they have in common. And like, it's funny because he's asking the most superficial things. He's like, oh, do you like blueberries? Do you like strawberries? She's like, absolutely not. But there has to be something, everyone.
Right. Like you could find something.
Yeah. Like, tell me about your life.
Anybody I could find something I have in common with.
Yeah, and it's just like it never felt like, oh, like when they both were just short-sighted, like he gave it more of an effort to like kind of know each other, but still like it's still pretty superficial. But like when she becomes blind, I was just like, oh, here, let's sit down and then tell me about your life. And there may be something like it could be as shallow as it possible, but that's really what they could bond over, and then her being blind isn't as much of an issue.
Right. Exactly.
Because, yeah. But like 100%, I'm lying. I'm not. I stuff freaks me out. That's why I still have glasses. So I'm not putting a steak knife and risk getting infected and sepsis and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What would you? Are you faking it?
I'm not. I'm like you.
Yeah.
I'll chop off a finger maybe, but I'm not sticking something in my eye.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll chop off the pinky. That's like the most useless one, not the thumb. The thumb. That's what
Oh no,
separates
yeah,
stuff from the animals.
right. No, no. That's why it's a thumb, not a finger. Because you gotta keep it.
Yeah. Because also like, did you check out like so like I had speculated that the animal that no one wants to be is like a lobster,
I
but like I looked up online and people are like it's a lobster. That's the thing that nobody wants to be because the lobster eats like shit and all that stuff.
It's basically just a big sea cockroach.
Exactly. That's why my cousin doesn't eat it. She's like,
I.
"You're eating the cockroaches of the sea."
That's
It's,
why I hate it too.
but they're so delicious. Their flesh is so the flesh
The
takes butter so well.
the butter is the good tasting part, so I could just omit the sea cockroach and just eat a cup of
Pour
butter.
butter. Just pour butter into your mouth. The butter is the paint. Without the canvas, it's just paint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why a crab is okay, but a lobster isn't.
Oh, I love crab too. Like the way I eat a crab is like, when you crack it open with the shell, you like, you get all the whatever the innards is, and then you put like rice in there, some lemon and some soy sauce. Uh,
I've actually never eaten that part. I've only had legs.
oh, the legs. Yeah, the other part is just extra work. But yeah, I like that they left it open ended, because then you can also make an argument for like he did do it. He did blind himself.
Right, and he's just not used to being blind, so he's not going to just walk right on out to the table.
Exactly. Where's the wife?
She at least was blinded by like a doctor doing LASIK. So
Yeah, and like you're also like there's like it's so open because you're like, okay, in my head, like I was like, oh, maybe he did blind himself because he's so rigid about this. He's like, we have to have something in common, or else it's just not gonna work.
right.
But it's also just like, imagine you're the waiter there, and it's like a horrific scene of a guy coming out with like blood out of his like eye holes. You're like, holy shit.
And think about it. If you got up the guts and the cojones
To do one eye?
to jam a steak knife into one eye,
Yeah.
then you have to stop and think, now let's do eye number 2.
I'm not. I am not. It's just not gonna happen. Like, it's so funny. Like, people have like such a thing about eyes too. It's like it's the testicles of the face.
I have not ever heard it put better. That's
It is
exactly
it's so vulnerable. It's so squishy.
right. I mean, teeth are sensitive, but like yank a tooth out before you stick something in my eye.
And like the yanking of a tooth, it requires so much effort as well. And so yeah, I have to believe that he did it, but personally, I'm not doing that.
Oh,
Yeah. And like it would just you would have to act like, oh my god, my eyes. Oh man, well, we're coming up to our hour, so I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Make sure to check all of our other episodes down below. We have a bunch of theme months, from actor related months to possibly in the future. We have a couple director themed months. We have space themes, we have sci-fi, we have a bunch there for you. We have something for everybody.
we had a fun Trapped month
Exactly.
that had Colin Farrell's phone booth.
Yeah. So we do our reviews in 4 different sections. If this is the first time you guys are joining us, we have Stream It, DVD It, Blu-ray It, and the Ultimate Box Collection. Kobe, where are you at for this one?
I'm the longer it goes after I've watched it, the more I like it. Like, definitely finished watching it, I was like, this is DVD.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I didn't hate this, and then like I went to bed and I woke up and I was like thinking about it, and then I started thinking about like doing the podcast, so I'm like really thinking, so like I prepared, and like the more it went through my mind, the more I'm like, this movie was pretty fantastic. um yeah, I gotta go, Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that the director group has done some other things, but I have not seen those, so I don't know if it's worth saying like, oh, let's do a director box set, and you know, uh,
Yeah. I mean, like, so I watched a couple of people talk about this movie, and like, it seems like he came out with like not three consecutive movies, but movies like kind of go back to back once a year because he had The Lobster, he had The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and The Favorite, and I feel like that's sort of like a unannounced trilogy. And so if the tones of those movies are similar to this, yeah, I'd 100% go like box, like what's it called, a box set.
that's enough. That's
Yeah,
enough to sell me. I think
but
maybe I'd go box set too then.
as a standalone, I think yeah, I would go Blu-ray with this. I'm pretty sure it's filled with a decent amount of extras, and it's a movie I feel like you have to recommend to people like 30 and up, and
Yes.
or at least people like you obviously you could recommend it to younger people, kind of inspire them to do more out of the box type of movies. But like they would have to be into like this movie,
Right.
like this. Yeah,
You have to know your audience on this recommendation.
yeah, because I feel like if I'm talking to a friend that only watches Michael Bay movies and the Fast and the Furious franchise, and I try to give him this, he's gonna fall asleep.
Right. Yeah.
But maybe a guy that watches like Hot Fuzz, who's like kind of acclimated to British type of humor, he might they might find the humor in this movie. So it's really just up in the air for you guys. But yeah, no, we're coming up to our closing. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to check all of our links down below where we have our social medias.
Yeah, we got our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitter X, Threads, TikTok, YouTube.
It's
If
all
there's,
there.
it's yeah, we're everywhere.
Yeah, come talk to us. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. My name is Barry.
This is Colby.
And this is Who Watches This. If you guys want to check who does our theme music, it is Lee Rosevere. It's called Arcade Montage. It's on our album News for Podcast 3, and her Bandcamp is down below.